Okay, we are now live, Jackie. Yep, Zach said it might take a minute.
Okay, there we go. Meeting is being live streamed. Got it. All right. Lisa, we have 2 watching, so I would suggest that we give it just a couple more minutes to see if a few others log in. And then you'll get started. Yep, a few more coming in.
Host disabled, sharing screen.
Oh, no. Because I made you a co-host. Because my computer crashed. And I guess.
Zach, what did I do? So if I say share screen here, share, then do slideshow. Then how do I unmute myself?
You should at the bottom scroll to the top.
I'm already muted.
Scroll up.
Lisa, I'd suggest getting started in just a minute, okay? Damaris, if perhaps you could type into the YouTube chat that we are taking questions in Spanish. I don't know if you have access to that. If not, you could put it in this chat and I'll copy it in.
Okay, I'll put it in this chat because I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. We can make that work.
Jackie, so we're asking them to put them in the chat, correct?
Yes.
Good morning, Greenburgh community, and thank you for joining us for the 2022-2023 budget presentation. Central administration has built this budget addressing our student needs and being cognizant of the local, state, and national economies that would impact our taxpayers. We will start with an overview of the tax cap calculation. The tax cap begins with the tax levy passed for the 2021-22 school year, which was $62,453,090. To this figure, you apply the tax-based growth factor, which is a measure of the change in real property value due to construction and capital improvements of real property within our district. For this calculation, that was 1.0147, as provided by the Office of Real Property Taxes, which was an increase from the previous year's growth factor of 1.0089. You then add the payments in lieu of taxes, also known as pilots, which are payments that a company or developer agrees to make to the school district instead of paying property taxes due to the tax exempt status of their property. We subtract any capital tax levy exclusions, which would be any debt service payments the district has or BOCES capital expenditures that the district is liable for. Currently, the Greenburgh Central School District has no debt service for construction, but does pay a portion of Southern Westchester BOCES along with other schools in Westchester County for capital expenditures, which was $37,825. To this total, you apply the allowable levy growth factor, also known as the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, which is used to measure the change in the cost of basic goods and services. A district is only allowed to apply, by state education law, the lesser of CPI or 2%. This year, CPI was 4.70%. Therefore, the district is restricted to the cap of 2%, which is converted to 1.02. The pilots expected in the 2022-2023 school year are subtracted since these companies will not be receiving a tax bill, but will be making a contribution to the tax base. If the total property taxes that were levied in the 2021-22 school year were less than the tax levy limit, a school district is permitted to carry over 1.5% of the prior year levy limit without exclusions. This amount is $952,891 and is provided to us by the Office of the State Comptroller. The capital levy exclusion for the 2022-23 school year is the obligation the district has for the Southern Westchester BOCES capital portion of the budget. Since this is a known obligation, we add this back in. To remain within the simple majority of 50% plus one positive vote, the district could levy up to $65,599,068. In the green shaded box, you will see that we are proposing a tax levy of $63,369,015, which is significantly below the tax levy limit. We are proposing an increase of $915,925, which is a 1.47% increase. The revenue included the tax levy, which is the largest of all revenues, of $63,369,015 and represents a 1.47% increase from this school year. The next largest revenue source is state aid. This school year, the state legislature has restored part of the long withheld foundation aid to school districts. The district also maximized its use of expense-driven aids, such as BOCES, to offset costs, which resulted in an increase of $325,569. The other revenues are categorized as miscellaneous revenues, which include sales tax, tuition, health and welfare billing, interest income, Medicaid, and prior year refunds. We have increased the amount of sales tax that we collect from Westchester County. We are also applying $2 million from fund balance to the budget. This gives us a proposed budget of $74,547,968, which is a little more than $1.5 million increase from this school year. In the 2021-22 school budget, we proposed repurposing monies to go into the capital fund for phase 1 construction, which was approved by the taxpayers. For the 2022-23 budget, we are proposing a transfer of excess fund balance from the 2020-21 school year to also be placed in the capital fund for needed mansion repairs. There will be no impact to the taxpayers for these funds since they were included in previous approved budgets. There are 6 major functions of a budget: general support, instruction, pupil transportation, employee benefits, debt service, and interfund transfers. This chart summarizes those expenses by each category to show a proposed budget before the transfer of excess fund balance to the capital fund. With the transfer, the budget will be $75,974,242. At this point, we will get into more detail of these functions. The general support function is for expenses for the Board of Education, central administration, operations and maintenance, some technology, and special items such as legal services, insurance, and BOCES administrative costs. The total general support for the 2022-23 school year is $8,920,028, which is a 2.46% decrease from this school year. The decrease represents salaries and refunds of property taxes, since most payments come from the tax certiorari reserve. The largest of all functions is for instruction. This includes the curriculum office, the principal's offices, regular instruction, special education, instructional support, which includes summer school, technology, library, and educational TV. Pupil personnel services represent our psychologists, social workers, guidance counselors, and health services. The district will be investing in restorative practices, which would be a system-wide approach to building and strengthening relationships between staff and students. We have prioritized student achievement, social and emotional learning, including wellness, through restorative practices, programs, and curriculum that will incorporate and teach strategies to address various behaviors. To support these practices, we have included 3 new positions: a math coach, a literacy coach, and a resource room teacher. The next function is transportation. Our contracted transportation transports all of our students to all 5 of our schools and also includes transportation to private placements, BOCES, and private schools. Currently, we transport approximately 460 students to 65 different schools. We are proposing an increase of 4.09% for the 2022-23 school year. The next function is employee benefits. This includes the teacher's retirement system, the employee retirement system, which both will increase next school year, Social Security, all insurances, and the Union Welfare Fund. The estimated increase for health insurance is 7%. This budget reflects just over $1 million increase in benefits. The last two functions are debt service and interfund transfer. A tax anticipation note is a municipal bond, usually with a maturity of less than 1 year, issued on the assumption that the debt will be paid back with future tax revenue. School districts issue these notes usually at the start of the fiscal year to maintain appropriate cash flow to pay immediate or time-sensitive obligations. The interfund transfers are for the federal fund and the capital fund. We are proposing to transfer $1.3 million to the capital fund for 2 gym floor replacements and the fire hydrant work that needs to be done at the Woodlands campus. The next slide shows the budget by object. Objects identify salaries and benefits, equipment, supplies and textbooks, contractual expenses, tuition, BOCES, debt service, and interfund transfers. You will see that salaries and benefits are the largest expense of the budget. There is also a large decrease in contractual expenses because these are now going through a BOCES. As you will see, there is an increase there, so we can maximize our BOCES aid for future revenue purposes. By law, the district must divide their budget into three components: administrative, program, and capital, and must show how each component is increased compared to the total budget. The administrative component includes expenditures for office and administrative costs, salaries and benefits for certified school administrators and their staff, data processing, public information, legal fees, insurance, and school board expenses. For the 2022-23 school year, this component is increasing by 3.58%. The program component is the largest of all the components, as it should be for instruction of our students. It includes salaries and benefits of teachers, teacher assistants, teacher aides, instructional support staff, and pupil personnel. Other instructional costs such as supplies, equipment, textbooks, co-curricular activities, interscholastic athletics, staff development, tuition, and transportation are included here. This also includes the federal interfund transfer. For the 2022-23 school year, this component is increasing by 2.53%. The capital component covers tax certiorari and court-related costs, all facility costs, including salaries and benefits of the custodial staff, service contracts, maintenance supplies, equipment, and all of our utilities. It also includes the capital interfund transfer. For the 2022-23 school year, this component is decreasing by 1.44%. This is because we have transferred costs to BOCES, again, to maximize our revenues. We show the repurposed interfund capital transfer and the excess fund balance transfer, since this would fall under the capital component as a separate item, since it will have no impact on our taxpayers. Under New York state law, a school board can submit a budget to voters 2 times. If the proposed budget is defeated twice, the board must adopt a contingency budget. Under a contingent budget, the district may not increase the tax levy from the previous year. Therefore, we would have to decrease the budget by $915,925. All non-contingent items must be removed from the budget, which includes most equipment, salaries that are not covered under collective bargaining agreement, and capital interfund transfers. A contingent budget would be $74,674,272. This slide shows the estimated impact to taxpayers. Recently, the town of Greenburgh did a reassessment of properties, as well as the sale prices of homes have increased. This combination increased the total assessment of the town. The average assessment of a single-family home increased by approximately $59,000. The average tax increase would be $494. And as a reminder, the budget vote is May 17th from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Woodlands Middle High School Gymnasium. Thank you for joining us, and are there any questions?
We do have a question from Katie McGee.
A question has been asked, if Greenburgh Central School District proposes a bond this coming year, where would the money to cover costs for the bond be budgeted? If we were to propose a bond, we would have to go through the process. We would have to develop the project. We would then have to go out to bid. Once the bids were accepted and everything went through the state education department, we received all of that back, then we would work with our architects to determine a timeline of phases of the project. Then what I would do would take bond anticipation notes to cover what would be for that portion of the school year, because you would pay less interest on that as opposed to taking a bond in its entirety and having to pay interest on that. So if we divided a project into phases and took the money through bond anticipation notes as they came due, and then towards the end rolled all of those anticipation notes into one bond, then we would start making principal and interest payments on that. That would fall under the section that is for bond and interest payments, which would fall under the capital component of the budget.
Not seeing any other questions at this time. We will give it a second.
If anyone has any further questions, if you could please put them in the chat, we will answer them.
Not seeing any at this time, Lisa, but let's give it just one more minute for people to digest. We've got 7 people on who watched the presentation. It does not appear that we have any other questions today, but a reminder that questions can be sent to the budget at greenburghcsd.org. I think that would be great for the group.
Jackie, I believe there's a follow-up question.
There is. I was referring to the cost of the vote itself, like voting day for the bond.
The cost of that vote would come from the administrative portion of the budget. That vote is the responsibility of the district clerk, and that would come from the district meeting portion of the budget, which falls under the district clerk.
Thank you, Lisa. I think there is one more question coming in. If we can just stay tuned for one moment. Still waiting. It appears people might be typing. Just waiting, Ms. Raymond, to see if there is one more coming in. Okay, nothing else from Ms. McGee. I am putting a reminder in the chat that any other questions can be emailed to budget@greenburghcsd.org. greenburghcst.org. Okay, Ms. Raymond, I think you can wrap it up.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you May 17th at the Woodlands Middle High School Gymnasium. Thank you and have a good day.